Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Dead Pundit Society. Today, we'll be doing a short one, just myself and Pablo, looking at the upcoming UEFA Champions League playoff matches. So, what do you think, Pablo? Which game do you want to start with?
Yeah, so we've got some interesting matchups coming up. I think a lot of teams that are even poised to go deep in the tournament that made this playoff stage. I mean, obviously we had quite a good prediction in the last match day with the result of the PSG versus Newcastle game. But I want to actually start and have a look at the matchup that I think is going to be the most interesting one for this round of 16. And for me, that's Dortmund versus Atalanta. I think these are two teams that are very, closely matched on paper. I think it could go either way. And yeah, so I'm interested. What do you think about that one off the top of the head?
Yeah, I would say that match is the most, let's say, close in terms of team strength or what you would predict to happen. I think with the other matches, there's very clearly one team that might be, let's say, a stronger team, at least on paper. I mean, it's Champions League, so upsets are bound to happen. You can't predict that the strongest team is going to go through every time. But the Dortmund Atalanta one is definitely a game where I could see either team winning. Dortmund are in very good form. I mean, they're second in the Bundesliga. I think they've won all five of their last matches as well. Um, but Atalanta have been a good Champions League team over the last couple of years, so it's a tough one to predict. Which way do you lean?
Honestly, I mean, as an Italian, I'm gonna go for Atalanta. I think Atalanta kind of threw away a top eight qualification, to be honest, because in their last two games they lost against Athletic Bilbao and Union Saint-Gilloise, so teams that they should have probably been beating, at least one of those two teams. And they were quite close to the top eight. I mean, they beat some pretty strong teams, even Chelsea, I think, earlier on. And I think they have a good chance to go through. That first match in Dortmund is going to be the key. If they can get out of that match with a draw or even maybe a loss by just one goal, I think that puts them well into it for the second leg in front of their home fans. I mean, Dortmund has been good as of late. They have been overall a bit disappointing this year. Like they haven't really been challenging Bayern Munich that much, even though in the Bundesliga no one really has, to be honest. But yeah, I think Atalanta potentially could get it done over the two legs. Obviously, having that second leg at home is quite a huge advantage, in my opinion, because you have the home game knowing what result you need to achieve, so that can always be helpful. And their squad is also picking up some form recently. They're sixth in the Serie A now, and in a very competitive Serie A this season as well. Yeah, I back them to go through, maybe drawing in Dortmund and then winning at the stadium in Bergamo. What's the
That's
next
a
match you'd like to?
I was
Oh,
just gonna
sorry.
say,
Go.
no, no, you're good. I was gonna say, I'm gonna lean the other way. I think I'm gonna say, I think Dortmund will go through. Atalanta are strong. I mean, for all the reasons that you mentioned, but I think this Dortmund team uh, has only lost one Bundesliga game all season. Surprisingly, they've even though obviously Bayern Munich is kind of killing their league, domestic league. I think, they've got some good attacking players. Girassi, Julian Brandt has been quite strong this season. Um, and I'm gonna say them just not just to disagree with you, but let's see. I think it'll be a good matchup for sure.
For sure, yeah. What's the next match you'd like us to take a look at?
I was gonna say another one that let's say might be a little bit closer, only because of their last game was the Benfica Real Madrid match. I mean, obviously that had what we think is one of the most iconic Champions League moments ever, with the goalkeeper scoring, at the very end, to put them through on goal differential. And now these two teams are coming up against each other again. Um, I mean, I joke and say, maybe based off the last match that Benfica could go through, but I think Real Madrid is going to come out swinging, to be honest. I think they're going to put on a show, and they seem to be quite determined to turn the season around.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it will be obviously that story will remain in the memories of all Champions League fans, right? The goalkeeper scoring in the 98th minute. But honestly, I think Real Madrid's going to beat them. Maybe at home it'll be a bit more of a close competition, but I think Real Madrid could easily put like 4 or 5 past them at the Bernabeu.
Yeah.
Especially with how they've been playing under Arbeloa. They've been kind of hit or miss at times, but when they're on, they're really on. And I do think after the way they performed in the latter games of that Champions League group stage, they'll want to put a show for their fans and want to put a stamp on the competition as well, like showing that they're present. So I can see them going through that quite easily. Where I see a potential upset is in the Bruges against Atletico Madrid game. I know that that might sound a bit strange because obviously Atletico is quite a strong team. They've got a very good squad. But I don't know, this year in the Champions League, I think they've been quite disappointing, like obviously they lost at home against Bodo in the last match day. I could see Bruges potentially pulling off an upset there. What do you think?
It could be, Atletico in the Champions League haven't been as, haven't gotten the results that you would expect out of them. With that said, I mean, they just beat Barcelona 4-0 a couple days ago in the cup, and they scored all four goals in the first half and then proceeded to play, you know, terrorist football in the second half. But I think if they bring that same energy into the matchup with Club Brugge, if they ride that high, then they could cruise through.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it would be an interesting one to see for sure. I mean, Club Brugge has been accustomed to knocking out big teams. Last year, they knocked
That's
out
true.
Atalanta, beating them home and away. So it'll be interesting to see. What do you think about Bodo Inter? Does Bodo have a chance at continuing their fairy tale run, or is it going to come
The
crashing
Cinderella
to a
story.
halt in the San Siro?
I'm rooting for Bodo Glimt, to be honest, and I think it doesn't even have to do anything with Inter. Any team they would have been up against, with the exception of PSG, I would have been rooting for them. Um, I want to see them continue going. I think they're a fun team to watch. They're riding the high of a couple of really important wins in their last two matches. Um, Realistically, do I think they have a chance? Probably not. I mean, Inter have been very good in the Serie A. Obviously, they're, still in the title race. I think, this might be where the fairy tale ends, but I'm certainly going to be tuned in and supporting Bodo Glimt wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with you. I think their dream will come crashing down at the San Siro, unfortunately, even though that first leg in the Arctic Circle is going to be pretty difficult for Inter. They're not used to playing at those temperatures on the AstroTurf as well. So we'll see how that goes. But I think they'll have enough to edge out the Norwegian side. Also, Bodo, I think, have had a pretty substantial break over the holidays as well. Their league's probably been stopped for a couple months as well. So that might play a hand in it as well. But I have Inter going out there. What about the only English club that didn't make it in the top eight, Newcastle? They're playing away at Karabag in the first leg. How do you see that one playing out?
I see Newcastle going through comfortably, to be honest. I don't want to, discount Karabag or anything. I guess something they have going in their favor is that they're quite far away. That's quite a trek, but that goes both ways. That affects both teams. Um, I saw them play in a previous Champions League game, and I wasn't too impressed, to be honest. I think Newcastle are gonna, I think they're gonna ride this one through pretty comfortably.
But didn't they play against Chelsea in the group stage? How do they do against them? Do they take a draw or do they lose in the end?
No, I actually don't remember. This was so long ago that this was yeah, we drew. Yeah, that's right. They drew with us 2-2, which was a bit of an L, but playing away. It was back in November, pretty early on with the champs, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult playing away against them, but I think their away form is very poor. I mean, they lost 6-0 against Liverpool, right? So I don't really see them having what it takes to overturn Newcastle to win in over 2 legs. I think they might steal the first leg at home, but I think Newcastle will definitely beat them in St. James's and advance to the next round. What game do you want us to look at next?
I was going to say next up, is Monaco PSG. I think PSG will be strong. I trust them to, show what the champions of last year's Champions League can show, and I expect them to win this game. But I don't want to rule out Monaco. Monaco's not a bad team. They haven't been, you know, as good in the league as they were in previous seasons in the domestic league, I mean, but they've showed some decent output in the Champions League, so it'll be interesting to see. But I expect PSG will win it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree as well. I think last year PSG also actually played a French club in the this playoff round. They
That's
played
true.
Brest and they won 10-0 over two legs. So I'm not saying it's going to be the same story, but I think it'll be pretty smooth sailing for the champions from last year. I mean, we've talked about this on other videos. I don't see them as this all-conquering side as much as they were last season. So I don't know if they'd be my pick to be the final winners of the competition. But I do see them handily going through Monaco and then maybe even a couple rounds more than that.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you think about then the next one, Galatasaray against Juventus? I think that's quite an interesting matchup as well. Mainly because Galatasaray actually has a lot of ex-Serie A players in their squad. Chiefly, obviously, Victor Osimhen and Mauro Icardi leading the front line. What do you think about that matchup?
Yeah, I mean, I expect Juve will do well. I think Juve is the favorite to win, but this is one of those games where the team that's not the favorite has a good chance of going through. I mean, like you said, they've got Mauro Icardi, Victor Osimhen, who are both very strong attackers playing for Galatasaray, and Galatasaray are top of the Turkish league. Though granted, I don't think by much. I think it's been a close race. But they have a good team. They certainly have a good team, and you can't underrate how hard it is to play away in Turkey to the home fans. They've got notoriously very, very loud, supportive fans that make it a tough stadium to go to. But I think, Juventus will be able to pull this one through. But, if there's going to be an upset, I wouldn't be shocked for this to be the upset.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely the potential for an upset. The only thing is, I think Juve have been resurgent under Luciano Spalletti. They've really become one of the best teams in Italy in the last couple months. I think even yesterday they lost against Inter 3-2, but they really didn't deserve to lose. Like they played quite well. I think that kind of football will translate well to the Champions League as well. I see Juve winning it pretty comfortably. Obviously, away from home, I could see Galatasaray potentially even taking a win, but in the Allianz Stadium, I think Juve will have what it takes to overturn any potential deficit. But it'll be interesting, of course, with Osimhen playing against his old coach and Spalletti, and just seeing how that plays out. Then the final matchup, I don't know much about these two teams as of late, but we have Olympiacos against Bayer Leverkusen. So off the top of my head, my prediction is I think Leverkusen will probably win that. Obviously, they started the season in pretty shocking form with Eric Ten Hag,
Yeah.
who was sacked after about 3 games. Their post Xabi Alonso era has been quite difficult so far, even though now they're making somewhat of a comeback in the Bundesliga, but still away from the spots that they were used to under Xabi Alonso. They also had a pretty rough start to their Champions League campaign. They lost 7-2 in the second match day against PSG, where PSG just really ripped them apart in that match. That being said, I do think that they'll have the edge over an Olympiacos side that doesn't really. I mean, they've made it so far into this round, so they're a good squad for sure, but I don't think they have that star power needed to progress further than that. I think for them, this playoff round is quite an achievement already, but I'm not sure that I see them having what it takes to make the round of 16. So I'm going to go for Bayer Leverkusen.
Yeah, I think what you said about Bayer Leverkusen with the sort of Xabi Alonso situation, I think they definitely still haven't gotten over that, even though it's been a bit of time now. They're definitely still in this kind of post Xabi Alonso hangover. they haven't been performing as well in the Bundesliga. They haven't been in the title race at all, as far as I understand. Rather, competing for European spots, but disappointing compared to their previous form. Um, this is one where, like you said, I don't know too much about either of these teams. I mean, Olympiacos don't have many players that I know of. I know they have I know they have some random players like Remy Cabella, I think was playing there,
Oh,
which
that's a
is a
name from the
deep pull.
past.
Yeah, it's a name from the past. Jelson Martins as well. Some of these I know just from I think last year's FIFA, to be honest with you. But um, I think, I expect Leverkusen to pull this through, but either team that wins this, I think will, no offense to either of them, but will lose to whoever they go up against in the next round, most likely.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, some interesting matchups for sure. But we'll have to see how these go. But thanks for watching, guys. We'll see how these matches play out, and then we'll have to see also after the draw for the round of 16, what matchups come out of that because we know that right now 50% who you're going to play, but who like however that draw goes will really dictate the rest of the Champions League, and it'll be interesting to see how it progresses also vis-a-vis our predictions that we made a month or so ago. So thanks for watching, and let us know if you maybe disagree with some of our picks. If one of you are a fan of Olympiacos, for example, and you have a very strong argument for why your club will make it to the semi-final, let us know in the comments section. And thanks for watching.
Thank you guys.